Welcome. I am Kat, if we haven't met, from Kat's Home Chat, and I have got a special guest for you today. Happy Friday, by the way. I have a longtime associate friend from another lifetime that we have stayed in contact. He is blowing it up in Southern California as a realtor for multi-million dollar properties. And he's going to share his juju magic and artistic creation and what he does to secure, educate, and really provide an excellent service end to end to his clients. So if you're a realtor or if you're a seller or a buyer, if you're anywhere, tune in, share, etc. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest, Stephen Katz from the agency. Welcome, Stephen.
Hey, Kate. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Thank you so much. As I mentioned, before we went live, I know it's a couple hours earlier there in SoCal. What part of SoCal are you in? Los Angeles?
Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills. Okay, guys. Beverly Hills. You too could live in Beverly Hills.
I have my coffee.
I know, you're a lot more perkier than you were 30 minutes ago. He's had his coffee. So a little history here. Stephen and I go way back. We won't say, but pretty way back, stepping into silver, pre-COVID, almost a decade, a lot of years. And Stephen doesn't know the topic that we're going to talk about. He suggested some of the ones that we've talked about in the past, and I'm quite open to repeating them because everybody has their own spin, their own juju, their own special magic that they bring to the table, whether it's what to educate new buyers on, what to look for, financing, all of that stuff. So it's never a tired conversation. But I thought it would be interesting to share and find and dialogue about parlaying the skill set from an industry that educates you, I believe, in being a chameleon and being able to dialogue with, a mechanic in the morning and a corporate attorney in the evening, etc., through this skill set. So I'm not going to introduce it any further, but I'm going to bring on a little short clip.
She's not coming.
Excuse me?
I've been watching you from the bar. The checking of the phone, the attempts to appear casual, the ordering of extra bread as you drown yourself in carbohydrates.
She seemed really cool. I thought she was into me.
Does she also enjoy playing with Star Wars figurines?
I don't know. I see that dig, though.
You do look like a geek, my darling.
Well, just because I enjoy theorems, right? It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy women.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And in my experience, an educated man is far more gifted in certain areas than his less than educated counterpart.
What are you saying?
What I'm telling you is that while she didn't come tonight, I most certainly will. And you don't have to double check the math on that, my little Einstein.
All right, let me see if I can remove this.
That is a lifetime ago.
That was a blast from the past, hey? Yeah. You're turning red. So am I. In fact, you want to hear a funny story? So I have 4 grandkids, but I have a granddaughter. She's going to be 11 in August, and she doesn't remember it. I'm sure I haven't sold it or showed it to her in her older years, but she used to be fascinated by it on my computer when she was like 3 and 4. So yeah, we're going about 7, 8. When she was 3 and 4, she just wanted to watch it over and over again. So
blast from the past.
Blast from the past. So needless to say, Stephen and I, that was actually a sizzle reel that Stephen and I did together to promote at the time my acting career as well as his acting career. Neither one of us is pursuing that industry any longer. But I really think it's important. That's what I wanted to parlay into our conversation, Stephen, how, I don't know what kind of training you've had or and/or is it just your natural ability? But I really think that skill set to be able to, like, you took on that character. Obviously, that's not your character.
Right.
You took on that character. You were able to create and take on a character, and have done many characters in previous roles. How do you think that parlays into being able to, you're talking with, we mentioned pre-show that you never dreamt to be in front of some people now. You would have loved it back when you were in the industry. I'm sure moguls in the film and entertainment industry. How do you think that skill set has helped you to be able to diversify and speak and relate to so many people in the real estate industry?
Yeah. Well, I think it's, whether it's, I think acting 101, I remember in drama school, it was such a hard, it sounds simple, but I remember some of my early teachers saying, just listen, just be present and listen. And as a young actor, I think, or even in life in general, life moves so quick and our brains are moving so fast to say the next thing or to just, not be present. And I think a lot of the times when I'm working with clients, I, you know, I hope my goal is to have them do 90% of the talking.
Yes.
And my job is to ask the right questions and listen. And I think that's a really important tool, because what we do in real estate, at least residential real estate, more so than commercial, but it's personal.
Yes.
It's very personal. Every client is different. I've had clients that like to, in the day and age we're living in, they like to text. They like to text about the deal.
Oh,
they want me to text
Yes.
them about the deal, text them. There's certain things where I'm like, no, we need to hop on the phone for 2 minutes just so you understand. But it's all about adapting. It's all about, I am at however my clients want to communicate, and I'm of service to them.
Those are such key points, Stephen, that you bring up. I love the just listen, because you're just so spot on that. We as individuals, we're uncomfortable sometimes with a silence, and instead of being in the moment, really absorbing what that other person is saying, we're thinking of how we're going to respond. We're missing so much. And then communication. One of the things that I need to remember to adopt with my clients, whether it's staging or design, is how do you like to best be communicated with? Now, usually in a very short time, you can figure that out. Oh, they really like texting, or they never read their email, or they're always on message on Facebook. So different people have different preferences. So I think that's important to determine and or communicate. How do you like to best be communicated with? But then, as you mentioned, and I've just been kind of experimenting now with, because so many people do like to text, with the voice text. Because number one, voice texting, that will kind of sometimes spell the words wrong. Not that kind of, but the voice, how you press the microphone and you can actually speak, because then they can actually hear you. Instead of trying to interpret maybe some bad spelling, bad grammar, or bad transfer, of voice to text. So communication is key. It is one of my pet peeves, whether it's running a team and or clients, is non-communication, because I'm a firm believer that you cannot over communicate. Right? You can't no one's going to tell you you're over communicating.
No, it's absolutely spot on. And, whether you work in real estate, home design, interior design, staging, if you are interfacing with clients, you have to communicate. And I've gotten so many, it's kind of strange, because I've gotten referrals to me they go, oh, Stephen, we worked with another realtor who wouldn't return our calls or didn't communicate with us for a week. And I go, like people are,
Your
yeah,
mind blows up, right?
and it's, you know, people are trusting me with their most of the time, their biggest asset.
Their biggest asset. And your average is in the like couple million, right? What would you say your average sale and or help and purchase is there in Beverly Hills?
Over 2 million?
2 million. Yeah.
Over, you know, and I think even if it's just, I joke with my clients in an escrow, I will communicate with them. They're going to want, I say this joke, they're going to want to block my number. Because even if I don't have any updates, and, you know, throughout an escrow, sometimes there's not an update.
Right.
But I will always check in with them, whether it's a text or an email or a phone call. But every day my clients will hear from me, even if it's
every day, really, not once a week, but every day.
Every single day. Even if it's nothing, I don't have anything to share with them of a big update. I'll just say, you know, hey, Mike, just checking in. Wanted to let you know that I don't have any updates. These are the items I'm waiting on, or these are.
Love it.
Because I think we're living in a day and age. I kind of sound like Mr. Rogers here, but
that's okay.
People don't communicate. And I know the businesses that, you know, even myself, when I'm doing business with someone else, that communication, that's paramount.
Yes.
And if your clients are ever wondering what's going on, that's not a good sign.
No. And you know, to segue on that, unfortunately, because of, you know, I really think it's because people haven't been educated for the most part, how to communicate, how to properly communicate. They will be thinking, well, I wished I knew about this, or I wished I knew, but they won't ask. And so, you know, being proactive like you are opens up that door for the non-trained, non-communicative, most of the population, to open that door to say, I'm here. This is the time. What do you got on your mind? Anything I can help you with? You know, I've got no news. This is what I'm waiting for. And that opens up those channels. So I'm sure you've gotten good response. I mean, obviously your results speak for your professionalism and your communication. But have you had people actually tell you, thank you so much for your communication and keeping me, you know, on top of everything?
Almost sounds like a humble brag, but I can't think of one client that hasn't. And to me, I go, this is my job. And I guess in the world we're living in, everything is, it's so, like I mentioned, it's so fast paced.
Fast-paced and can be very transactional.
Yeah. And I know even personally, like when because I obviously I own properties myself, and it's a big thing. There are so many moving parts. And I'm in real estate, obviously. So for someone that's not in real estate and doesn't understand all the nuances, all the sort of check boxes that you hit from, you know, just starting the process together, like putting in your I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, so putting in that offer to handing them the keys, that can be a 5 to 6 week process. And there's just so many nuances that I feel like it's my job to communicate and say, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's today's going to be like, this, you know, and just, I guess at the deepest level, my job is to give my clients peace of mind to say, I got you.
Mm-hmm. Because you're right. You know, back, I think I mentioned to you, I was in new home sales many years ago. And this first community that I worked in, it was first-time home buyers. And my philosophy was, you know, there are many pieces to the puzzle. I want you to think of me as your puzzle master. I'm going to help you put all the pieces together. Because as you mentioned, it can be daunting and overwhelming, even with people who have purchased before, because typically the average is 5 to 7 years. They haven't done it, you know, in a long time. And so, all the lingo, the processes, the negotiation, all those pieces to the puzzle, is like starting all over again. So, it does take someone, like yourself to over communicate, to make sure they know every step of the way, they know it ahead of time. And then, of course, when things come up, to minimize them. One of kind of my pet peeves, being in all things real estate for many years, is, don't exacerbate the client. You're there to give them peace of mind and take it on your shoulders and not make it a big deal and just find a solution, right? Do you find sometimes, an agent on the other side wants to blow it up and make it all drama filled instead of protecting their client?
Yeah, I think with the influx of online, all these online companies that offer, you see, how do I say this? You see these sites that go, buy with us and we'll give you, $5,000 back, or you see these sites. And
Right.
so you have a lot of new agents, and I think you have a lot of agents that come into this business. They see, shows on like reality shows and, $1 million listing. And I love, like, I work with two of those guys, and I love them, and they're great. They're great agents. But I think a lot of times people see that and they go, oh, I'm just going to get my real estate license and it's going to be easy.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to make millions of dollars and I'm going to drive a Bentley. And
absolutely, they're going to make all this money. And it's no, it's TV is what it is. It reminds me of, my days of watching HGTV, 15, 18 years ago, and thinking, well, yeah, I can do that. So when we moved into our house, I'm like, yeah, we can paint it. I spent $300 on a ladder and tape and all this, and I'm getting the paint on the baseboards, and I mean, I'm like, oh Lord, I'm hiring a pro. This is like, operating on your own brain. I'm not a painter, and but it's edited. TV makes it look like you can do it in 20 minutes. It's all cut and edited, and that's the same with the home reality shows, the decorating shows, all that.
Right, and I think to your point, hiring a professional, you would never, if God forbid you need, let's say, legal guidance, right? You have some legal exposure that you need representation on. You need an attorney.
Right.
Are you going to go to, I'm just making this up, but like 1-800lawyer.com or something? And
right.
No, this is your life. This is a huge thing. And you're going to, I always say, because although I work in the higher end market, luxury is a service level, not a price point.
Absolutely. And I would guess to say that no matter what price point, that you deliver the luxury level of service.
100%. And that's what I've built my business on. I don't, whether it's a starter condo here for $500,000 or $600,000, or it's an estate.
That's amazing, a starter condo.
Yeah, I know. Or someone buying their legacy estate, for 20, 30, 50 million. It's the level of service. Luxury is the level of service.
I love that. Luxury is a level. That's worth quoting. I love it. Luxury is a level of service, because, I relate to that totally, because that's what I, try to espouse to my clients, whether it's designer staging, is that whether it's a flip or, an entry level here, the 250, or multi-million, you're going to get the same level of service. Not going to compromise, on that. That's just what you do.
Right.
Yeah, it's like an inborn habit, and it's your reputation, your branding. And then we talked off camera about 80 to 90% of your sellers, when you work with sellers, you will recommend staging, whether it's occupied or vacant. You have the luxury, of course, in the higher end. Oftentimes, not all times, but oftentimes, they have the means to hire a professional designer, have good taste, or can buy someone who can help them have good taste. And so, there may not be as much a need to bring in power pieces or do vacant staging, but I love that you realize and know the power of professional staging. There's a lot of great stagers in the California area. So what would you say, do you do mostly occupied or vacant selling list?
It's both, actually. Some people have the luxury of getting in their new home and then selling their old home.
Right.
So they can, totally move from one home to the other and then sell their old home. If you have that luxury, it's obviously easier. But oftentimes, no, it's both. Sometimes my clients need the funds from the sale of their current home to then acquire their new home.
Correct.
And
do you ever do bridge loans? Are you finding that's still popular to do bridge loans to do that move?
Yeah, once in a while, not tons, but yeah, there's some companies that certainly can make that process easier. I saw it more, just until we're seeing a little bit of a shift in the market here.
Right. And what are interest rates? Are they at 5.5-ish, or where are we at right now?
Yeah, exactly. Right in the mid fives, which is still
low.
It's very low. And, I think a lot of my clients see these headlines and they call me and they go, Stephen, why are interest rates are going up? And yeah, are they in we got spoiled, the 2.5 to 3.
Yeah.
But when you think about 5.5%, 5% to borrow,
it's still very
money,
good. So I bought my first house in the 80s, and other people espoused to this too. I paid 13.5% because I only had 5% down. Now, of course, you can get 100% lending, and but yeah, 13.5%.
Right. And and home prices. This is the question: do you want a higher payment or a higher price? Because interest rates are going to rise.
Yep.
And along with that, home prices are going to rise.
Right.
And I always suggest to my clients, look, if you can afford a home, you will never lose if you hold that property long enough. Now, if you're looking for a quick, 6 months, you're not going to see the return. But real estate is proven, and it's a hard asset. In the news, inflation is pretty high now. It's a 40-year high. People are turning to assets like real estate.
Yes.
As a hedge against the inflation. So
yes.
5%, 5.5%, it's very, historically, it's still very low.
It's nothing on a 30-year fix. Even if you do a 15, it's still a fabulous. But you made a really good point, and that is, yes, we are in times now where we're seeing historical inflation. Forget making money in the bank on the savings, even in CDs. So where can you hedge against inflation? Real estate, hands down. Yeah. Absolutely.
Real estate, and I think that's a lot of my clients are looking to, diversify their portfolio away from the stock market.
Yes.
And we talk about vacation rentals.
Mm. Yeah, Airbnbs are
huge.
Really,
and the wonderful thing is you have, they themselves, I always sit down with my clients and I go, okay, let's talk about this. Where would you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, want a vacation home? And let's try to package that with where are you going to see your return on the Airbnb numbers or the short-term rental numbers, so that you can still use your home when you want, but that you can also leverage that asset, that vacation home, for cash flow when you're not there.
Absolutely. So now, do you do out of the country at all, or basically within the country in terms of vacation?
No, so I help people. I have partners that,
Gotcha.
We're a global. The agency, the brokerage I'm with, is a global luxury brand. So we have offices all over the world.
Oh, that's good to know.
We just opened up an office in Amsterdam, our first office in Europe. But I have partners all over. Myself, I do California and Arizona.
Okay, California and Arizona. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I know one of the talking points, and thanks for sharing that, Stephen, really good information. That you work quite a bit with first-time home buyers. If someone out there listening now or on the flip side is looking to purchase a home, what are, say, the top, few things that you would suggest that they do, say prior to selecting a realtor or, in selecting a realtor? What are some tips that you would give a first-time home buyer as the first steps?
Yeah,
to having a new home?
That's a great question. I think having the right representation, having the right team, and what I mean by representation is having the right lender and having the right agent is paramount. And a lot of people, think that the only choice in lender is a big bank option,
Right.
the Wall Street banks that
Yeah.
you see on every corner. So choosing your lender wisely, because that is just as important as your agent. And then choosing your agent. How do you go upon choosing an agent? Well, if it's California, Arizona, call me.
Absolutely. If you're looking to buy or sell in California, Arizona, Stephen's your man. I can tell you. I've been watching him for years, and he's doing all the right things. So, and we'll be putting up his information here at the end of the show, and this will also be posted on Facebook. But let's say they're, it's other states. How would you guide them there? What are some key things they should look at besides communication?
I think asking referrals are a huge thing, of course. And then when you are interviewing your agent, ask them, how do they communicate? What's their process like in showing homes? Do they go with you? Do they, you're trusting this person. And something
okay, let me stop you right there. In California, can they go see a home without you? I mean, open house, yeah, but they can't go into a locked home without you legally, can they?
No, so they don't have access to a Supra or like a realtor lockbox, as they call it. But a lot of times, some of my clients have no problem going into a home by themselves, with the listing agents there if I'm representing the buyer. I'm very hands-on. I like to be at every showing with my clients and have that experience with them and walking them through a property. And but as far as selecting an agent, I think it's, something that can't be lost is likability. You're going to be spending a lot of time with this person.
Absolutely. So see if you're a good fit. And, on that note, Stephen, and I want to be sensitive to time. We're approaching a couple of minutes to 30. We can go over a little if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
But, know, like, and trust you, that you have to be a good fit. We do something similar in design. We have a discovery call, and that's basically to see, are we a good fit for the project or the personality? And it's a two-way thing, because like you said, you're going to be spending a lot of time together. But on that, is it ever a good idea to just go with your your godson or your nephew or a relative? Is it ever good to do that? And tell me your pros and cons on that, just selecting by relationship.
That's a good question, because I can maybe half answer it like this. I get a lot of clients that have tried their family members and they say, Stephen, I just don't want to mix the relationship with family. And, it's, how do I say this without sounding like a Hallmark movie, but your agent is your best friend for a month. Longer, because usually an escrow is a month, but I start generally working with my buyer clients 4 to 6 months before I give them the keys. And so,
bless your heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I love about what I do is I've been lucky to to have my clients turn into great friends of mine.
Yes.
Because there's I'm very grateful for people trusting in me with a huge asset, a huge purchase.
Yes.
So yeah, I think if you have a family member that's a rock star agent, why not give them a shot? But a lot of times it can be tough because I tell my clients when I start working with them, and I've worked with friends of mine,
Sure.
I say, look, I will always keep it straight with you, and I'm going to have some difficult, challenging conversations at times with you. And there's going to be friend Stephen, and there's going to be agent Stephen. And if I'm your agent, I'm going to be your agent.
Yes.
I will not sugarcoat anything because I can't do my job effectively if I'm not being honest with you.
I like that. And at the same time, though, you want to be able to, and back when I was active in real estate, as you know, I keep my license, but just to stay in front of realtors and once in a while a referral. I've heard of agents saying, why don't you, if you want to keep that relationship, because there are difficult times and conversations, and because you have that familial history, it's not always the same, and there can be drama, and who needs drama? But you don't want to hurt their feelings. So I've heard of realtors where they said, have them refer. And so you get a referral, right, from them, and you give them the referral fee, but the non-family member handles the transaction. Is that ever done in your neck of the woods?
I haven't personally, just because I like to be hands-on, and I have a hard time. How do I say this? I know how I do business, and I have a hard time letting that go, because
but what I'm talking about is, let's say the family member, let's see if I get this right, refers the agent, and so the family member gets a sizable, whatever percentage is in California, 25%.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So they don't feel like slap in the face. They're like, okay, and I get it, because you want to be able to, at the end of the day, maybe fire your agent, and you want to keep the relationship with the family member. And this way they don't feel just shunned. Oh my gosh, I'm a realtor, and they went with somebody they don't even know.
Right. Yeah. I personally haven't had that happen, but I think it's I think it's a case-by-case basis.
Case by case. It could be doable, not, to make everybody happy, best interest of the, of the client, and not hurting a family member, that's always.
And on that, I know we're running up a bit of time, but I do want to mention quickly, based on representation, how you were saying an agent, I think I go back to, I think I started this, is a lot of times I find people are wowed by the online sites, the big online real estate sites that people check, and they see these ads are saying like, we'll give you, $2,000 back or $5,000 back if you use us. And say proceed with caution.
Proceed with caution. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You don't want to be seduced into a short-term fix for a long-term solution, because it could blow up. It could certainly blow up. And 9 times out of 10, you're not getting that personal relationship, that personal attention, and certainly all the things that we talked about that Stephen provides, as a luxury specialist, with his communication, daily updates, etc. Applauds to you, Stephen. Absolutely. And if I know of anyone who's moving to California, Arizona, I will certainly send them your way. And how can people reach you today before this goes on YouTube if they want to, had some more questions for you? They're looking to sell or buy in Arizona or California.
Just Google Stephen Katz, Stephen, my last name Katz, and realtor, and I'll come up.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you again, Stephen. Just a plethora of information. It's so nice to see you and catch up with you. And thanks for listening. Everybody have a great weekend. As always, stay positive, stay hopeful, and stay connected. And thank you so much for connecting with me and Stephen today. And share this if someone is in the need to know to buy or sell in Arizona or California. Stephen Katz is your man. And have a great weekend.